The battle raged like a storm above the shattered moon of Zephora. Earth's fleet fought valiantly alongside the coalition forces. A diverse group of alien species united against a common enemy, the merciless Zalvek. For years, humanity had trained, adapted, and proved itself a fierce combatant in the galactic arena, earning cautious respect from its allies. Commander Elena Ramirez led the Earth's flagship through waves of plasma, fire, and debris. Her voice was calm yet commanding as she coordinated her pilots. Keep formation. Focus fire on the Zalvek dreadnought. We can't let them break through the fleet. The coalition ships fought in perfect synchrony, or so it seemed. Lysari cruisers and the Velrix battlers flanked the human fleet, striking with devastating precision. For a time, victory appeared within reach, but then came the moment no one expected. The Lysari fleet suddenly ceased firing. Their weapons powered down as if frozen by an unseen command. Without warning, their massive cruisers veered away from the battlefield, creating a gaping hole in the defense line. Commander Ramirez, the Lysari are retreating. A young pilot shouted overcomes disbelief in his voice. They're abandoning the fight. Panic surged among the human forces. The Zalvek, sensing the opening, surged forward with renewed ferocity. Plasma bolts tore through the space around the Resolute, shields flaring under the assault. Ramirez gritted her teeth, ordering evasive maneuvers, but the betrayal was catastrophic. The Velrix battlers, seeing their allies withdraw, faltered in their assault. The coalition shattered, and humanity was left vulnerable. Within minutes, Earth's fleet suffered devastating losses. Ships exploded in fiery bursts, debris scattering through the void like stars extinguished too soon. The betrayal was not just a retreat. It was a calculated move by the Lysari to ensure they alone would claim victory over the Zalvek, leaving humanity to take the blame for the failure. Back on Earth, the news arrived like a hammer blow. The betrayal was broadcast across every screen and hologram, leaving citizens stunned and leaders in disbelief. At the United Earth Council's emergency session, President Amina Yusuf faced the gathered delegates with a heavy heart. We fought side by side with these aliens, trusting them as allies. They turned their backs at the moment of greatest need. General Hiro Tanakh slammed his fist on the table. They left us to die. We must respond, not just in defense, but with strength and resolve. We will not be pawns in their schemes. Amid the shock and anger, the council resolved to uncover the truth. Intelligence teams scoured intercepted communications and battlefield data. What they found confirmed their worst fears. The Lysari had coordinated with the Zalvek behind the scenes, orchestrating the betrayal to weaken humanity's rising power. Commander Ramirez, though wounded and mourning her fallen comrades, refused to give in to despair. We were betrayed, she told her surviving crew, but we will not be broken. They may have cost us this battle, but they have only fueled our fire. Rebuilding began immediately. Earth's engineers worked around the clock to repair damaged ships and develop new technologies inspired by salvaged Lysari tech. Scientists raced to understand the subtle weapons and defenses left behind by the fleeing BETRA. Across Earth, the spirit of defiance grew stronger. Citizens volunteered for service, determined to protect their home and claim justice. News reports celebrated acts of bravery and solidarity in the face of treachery. Diplomats reached out cautiously to other alien civilizations, seeking allies who might oppose the Lysari's deceit. Some responded with suspicion, others with quiet support. The betrayal had been a blow, but it had awakened something deeper within humanity, a fierce will to survive, to reclaim honor, and to claim everything that had been stolen, not just from Earth's fleets, but from its future. As the stars blinked cold and distant beyond Earth's atmosphere, humanity prepared not merely to defend itself, but to take the fight back to those who had betrayed them. The halls of the United Earth Council buzzed with tense activity. Satellite feeds displayed the ravaged remains of the battlefield around Zephyra, a grim reminder of the cost of betrayal. Survivors from the battle returned home broken but alive, carrying stories of sudden abandonment and fierce last stands. Commander Elena Ramirez arrived at the council chambers, her uniform marked with dust and scorch from the fight. Her eyes, though weary, burned with a quiet determination. She took her place before the assembled leaders and diplomats. "We were left to face annihilation alone," Ramirez began, her voice steady but filled with controlled anger. "The Lasari abandoned their alliance, turning their backs when we needed them most. But this is not the end. It is only the beginning." President Amina Youssef nodded solemnly. "We must rebuild not just our fleet, but our trust in ourselves. The betrayal has shaken us, but it has also made clear one truth. Earth cannot depend on others for its survival. We must stand on our own." In the days that followed, military and scientific leaders convened to chart a new course. Investigations into the Lasari treachery revealed their motives: envy of humanity's rapid technological progress and a desire to monopolize the spoils of war. This was never just a battle. General Hiro Tanaka told his officers, "It was a calculated move to weaken us before we could claim our place among the stars." They feared our potential and chose betrayal over cooperation. Earth's response was swift and resolute. Repair yards buzzed with activity as damaged ships were salvaged and rebuilt. Scientists pored over recovered Lasari technology, seeking to turn their advantage into humanity's gain. Among the breakthroughs was the adaptation of Lasari energy cores, compact power units capable of sustaining advanced shields and weapons, far beyond Earth's previous capabilities. Dr. Lena Morales led the research teams, her relentless curiosity driving rapid progress. "Every fragment they left behind is a piece of their power," she said during a briefing. "We will learn from their technology, adapt it, and surpass it." Meanwhile, diplomats worked to rebuild Earth's standing in the galactic community. Though many species viewed humanity with lingering suspicion after the betrayal, some recognized Earth's resilience and strength. Ambassador Jaya Patel spearheaded efforts to reach out to neutral factions and former enemies alike. "We seek allies who value trust and honor," she declared. "Our fight is not just for revenge, but for a future where betrayal has no place." On the streets of Earth's sprawling cities, the mood was somber but defiant. Families mourned lost soldiers, while communities rallied around support efforts for the wounded and displaced. Public broadcasts honored the bravery of those who stood their ground when allies fled in training camps. New recruits drilled tirelessly, their eyes bright with purpose. They were not just soldiers, they were the guardians of Earth's future. Captain Marcus Lee, one of the battle survivors, visited a training facility. "We learned a harsh lesson," he told the assembled cadets, "but we also discovered our greatest strength: adaptability, courage, and unity. They thought betrayal would break us. Instead, it made us stronger." Amid the rebuilding, signs of unrest within the Lasari ranks began to emerge. Intelligence suggested factions opposed to the betrayal were questioning their leaders. Some even sought secret contact with Earth. Commander Ramirez seized the opportunity. "We will not only reclaim what was taken," she said, "we will show that humanity's spirit cannot be crushed not by enemies, nor by false friends." The council agreed on a bold strategy to strike back at the Lasari before they could regroup fully, disrupting their supply lines and reclaiming stolen territory. As Earth's fleets prepared, the world held its breath. The path ahead was perilous. But the resolve was clear. Humanity would rise from the ashes of betrayal, stronger and more determined than ever. And in the silent expanse of space, a new chapter of the conflict began. The hum of the shipyard was a steady pulse, echoing the rhythm of Earth's determination to rebuild. Amid towering cranes and blazing welders, engineers and scientists labored side by side, transforming wreckage into weapons and ships that would define humanity's next chapter. Commander Elena Ramirez paced the command deck of the newly commissioned Intrepid, a warship forged from the lessons of betrayal. Its hull bore scars from past battles but gleamed with fresh armor, reinforced by technologies adapted from the very traitors who had turned their backs. Status report. Ramirez requested, eyes scanning the holographic display hovering before. Her power cores are stable and exceed previous models by 30%, replied Lieutenant Kai Voss, her engineering lead. Shields have been upgraded with layered defenses modeled on Lysari technology, but integrated with our own adaptive algorithms. Weapon systems are calibrated and ready. Ramirez nodded. Good. We fight smarter now, not just harder. Earth scientists worked tirelessly to understand the nuances of Lysari technology. Dr. Lena Morales led the charge, her team studying the alien designs with relentless curiosity. We've discovered that their energy cores harness quantum flux in ways previously unknown to us, Morales explained during a briefing. By incorporating our own energy modulation, we've created a hybrid system capable of sustained high output with minimal heat signatures. Such advancements made humanity a formidable force, but it was the ingenuity of adapting and improving alien technology that truly set Earth apart. Unlike the Lysari, who relied on tradition and rigid hierarchies, humans embraced flexibility and innovation, traits that had carried them through millennia of survival. Training intensified. Pilots practiced complex maneuvers that blended human unpredictability with alien precision. Ground forces drilled relentlessly in urban and zero-gravity combat, preparing for guerrilla operations behind enemy lines. Captain Marcus Lee watched as a squadron of fighters darted through simulated asteroid fields, their movements fluid and dynamic. They think they know what we'll do, Lee said to Lieutenant Sarah Al-Mazri, his second-in-command. But they don't understand the human spirit's our willingness to adapt, to learn on the fly, to never back down. Sarah smiled, her gaze steady. That's why they betrayed us. They feared what they couldn't control. Meanwhile, diplomats worked tirelessly to build new alliances. Ambassador Jaya Patel's outreach began to bear fruit as neutral species, disillusioned by the Lysari's treachery, opened tentative channels of communication in a secret meeting aboard a diplomatic station near the neutral system of Oralis. Patel negotiated with representatives from the Zindari and Trivian races. Earth's resolve is clear, Patel told them. We seek not just revenge, but stability and justice. Together, we can prevent future betrayals and build a galaxy where no one is left to fight alone. The Zindari envoy, a tall figure with shimmering scales, regarded her thoughtfully. Your spirit is admirable. We will consider your proposal. Back on Earth, citizens followed the progress with a mix of hope and apprehension. News broadcasts highlighted new ship launches and diplomatic successes, but also honored those lost and reminded all that the road ahead was fraught with danger. President Amina Yusuf addressed the planet in a stirring speech. We rise not because the world is easy to defend, but because the human heart refuses to yield. From the ashes of betrayal, we forge a future defined by courage, unity, and the relentless pursuit of justice. As Earth's fleet grew stronger, and its alliances deepened, a new plan emerged, a series of strategic strikes to reclaim territory and disrupt the Lysari's operations. The goal was clear: to remind the traitors that humanity was not defeated, but reborn. Commander Ramirez reviewed the mission details with her team. We will strike swiftly, decisively, and without mercy. The galaxy will know that Earth does not forget betrayal, and we do not forgive lightly. The Intrepid and its sister ships slipped silently into the void, their engines humming with quiet power. Ahead lay darkness, uncertainty, and the promise of battle. But humanity was ready. From betrayal's ashes, a fire burned brighter than ever. The night before the mission, the atmosphere aboard the Intrepid was thick with quiet tension. Commander Elena Ramirez stood alone on the observation deck, gazing at the stars. Each pinprick of light represented a world, a potential ally, an enemy. Lieutenant Kai Voss approached quietly, holding a datapad. "All systems are green, Commander. The fleet is ready." Ramirez nodded without turning. "They betrayed us once. They won't catch us unprepared again." The mission was clear. A surprise raid on Lysari outposts scattered across the outer fringes of their territory. These outposts, lightly defended and vital to the betrayers' supply lines, represented the first chance for humanity to strike back and reclaim lost ground. The fleet moved with deliberate precision, slipping past. Patrols using stealth technology adapted from Lysari cloaking devices. Captain Marcus Lee led the fighter wing. His squadron prepared for intense combat. As they approached the target, Elena's comm crackled. "All units, prepare for engagement. Maintain radio silence unless ordered." In the cold void, the first explosions shattered the silence. Human fighters tore through the outpost defenses, their plasma cannons igniting the night with bursts of blue fire. Ground teams dropped into the perimeter, swift and efficient. Lieutenant Sarah Al-Masri led the insertion squad, tasked with sabotaging the Lysari's communications and supply caches. "Move fast," she ordered. "We hit their systems, disrupt their command, and vanish before they know what hit them." The outpost's alarm blared moments after the initial strike, but human forces were already retreating. The operation was surgical precision over brute force. From the bridge of the Intrepid, Elena watched the live feed, a mix of pride and grim resolve in her eyes. They thought we'd be weak after the betrayal. They underestimated our will. The raid was a resounding success. Several key supply depots were destroyed. Communications were jammed for days, and the Lysari forces were forced into defensive postures back on Earth. News of the strike ignited celebrations tempered by the sobering knowledge of war's cost. Families gathered around screens as President Amina Yousaf spoke to the world. "Today, humanity has taken its first steps toward reclaiming our place in the stars. This is not vengeance alone, it is justice. We honor those lost by standing strong and moving forward." Yet the mission was just the beginning. Intelligence analysts began piecing together the wider picture of Lysari. Vulnerabilities revealed during the raid. General Hiro Tanaka convened a war council. "We now know their supply lines are fragile. Our next strikes must be coordinated to sever their reinforcements and isolate their main forces." Ambassador Jaya Patel reported a breakthrough in diplomatic efforts. Several neutral factions expressed tentative support. Swayed by humanity's determination and the betrayal's exposure, Captain Lee prepared his pilots for the next engagement. "We're no longer just reacting, we're leading. This is our moment to prove humanity's strength and resilience." But the Lysari were not idle. Frustration and anger fueled their commanders, who vowed to crush Earth's uprising before it could grow. Commander Ramirez received intercepted Lysari communications, revealing plans for a counter-offensive, a massive assault aimed at Earth's newly established forward bases. "We expected retaliation," Ramirez told her officers. "We will meet it head-on." As Earth's fleets regrouped and prepared for the coming storm, the galaxy watched closely. The betrayal had sparked a war that would redefine alliances and power and humanity. Once doubted and underestimated, was now a rising force refusing to be silenced. The war was no longer just Earth's fight. Across the galaxy, the ripple effects of the Lysari Betrayal began to shift allegiances and open new possibilities. Ambassador Jaya Patel sat in the dim light of the diplomatic chamber aboard the orbital. Station Vespera, reviewing incoming messages. Neutral factions, once hesitant to pick sides, now reached out with cautious offers of support. The revelation of the Lazar's treachery had stirred unrest in systems long under their shadow. Patel's thoughts were interrupted as the door slid open, revealing Commander Elena Ramirez. "How's the diplomatic front?" "Better than expected," Patel replied with a hopeful smile. "Several species like the Zendari and Trivians are willing to stand with us. They've suffered under Lysari dominance as well. They want change." Ramirez nodded. "Then it's time we show them what humanity can bring to the table." Back on Earth, President Amina Yusuf addressed the population. "Our strength lies not just in our weapons, but in the bonds we build. We extend a hand to those who share our vision of a just and peaceful galaxy." Human diplomats traveled to distant worlds, forging fragile but promising alliances. The Zendari, reptilian and proud, brought advanced stealth technology. The Trivians, known for their formidable ground forces, pledged troops to the coalition. Even the small but cunning Keltari offered intelligent support. With each new ally, humanity's confidence grew. Training programs were established to integrate alien and human forces, creating units that combined strengths and tactics. Captain Marcus Lee oversaw joint exercises, impressed by the adaptability of soldiers from different species. "We're building more than a fleet," he said. "We're building a family." However, not all were eager to support Earth. Some factions remained loyal to the Lysari or feared reprisals. Espionage and sabotage became constant threats, forcing constant vigilance. In a secure briefing room, General Hiro Tanaka outlined the strategic importance of alliances. "The Lysari are powerful, but isolated. Together, we create a force no one can ignore." The coalition's growth also brought new challenges. Cultural differences, language barriers, and mistrust simmered beneath the surface. Yet the shared goal kept tensions in check. One evening, Patel and Ramirez discussed the future over a quiet meal. "We have strength in numbers, but the real test will be keeping us united," Patel said thoughtfully. "Betrayal tore us apart. Once, we can't let it happen again," Ramirez agreed. "Trust is fragile, but it's the foundation of everything we're building." Meanwhile, intelligence reports indicated that the Lysari were ramping up their efforts to fracture the coalition, sending agents to sow discord and misinformation. In response, Earth's security forces increased counterintelligence operations, rooting out threats before they could take root, as fleets from diverse species gathered near the contested borders. The air was charged with anticipation. The coming battles would test not only humanity's resolve, but the strength of the alliances they had forged. On the eve of the coalition's first joint offensive, Patel stood before representatives of every faction. "Today, we fight as one, not for conquest, but for survival and honor. Together, we reclaim our future." Commander Ramirez prepared her ship and crew for the operation ahead, feeling the weight of history and hope combined. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was no longer alone. The coalition fleet moved like a single organism, a living force born of necessity and determination. Ships from Earth, the Zendari, Trivians, and other allies glided through space, their engines burning with purpose. Commander Elena Ramirez stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, watching as battle plans unfolded on the tactical displays. This was no longer a simple retaliation. It was a full-scale campaign to push back the Lysari and reclaim lost territories. Enemy forces detected in Sector 7, Lieutenant Kai Voss reported. "They're mobilizing faster than we anticipated." Ramirez's eyes narrowed. "Well, then, we'll have to be faster." The first engagement came swiftly. Lysari cruisers attempted to blockade a key supply route vital to coalition operations. Human and allied fighters launched coordinated strikes, weaving through the chaos with a blend of aggressive tactics and clever maneuvers. Captain Marcus Lee led the charge, his squadron executing unpredictable flight paths that confounded enemy targeting systems. "They can't anticipate what we'll do next," Lee said, overcomes a fierce grin in his voice. "That's our edge." The battle was brutal, but the coalition's improved technology and combined forces gave them the advantage. Shields held firm against plasma bursts, and new energy weapons pierced the enemy's armor with precision. On the ground, Travaine soldiers fought alongside human marines to retake a critical Lysari stronghold. The terrain was harsh, rocky cliffs dotted with ancient ruins, but the coalition pressed forward with relentless determination. Lieutenant Sarah Almas coordinated with her Trivian counterpart, Commander Zeltari. "Cover the left flank," she ordered. "We push hard and fast." Zeltari nodded, his scaled face set with grim resolve. Together, we reclaim what they stole. The battle lasted hours, each side refusing to yield. But coalition forces eventually overwhelmed the defenders, securing the stronghold and capturing valuable supplies. As the war shifted in favor of humanity and its allies, morale soared. Soldiers who once felt abandoned now marched with purpose, united by shared victories and common goals. Back on Earth, President Amina Yusuf addressed the planet once more. "The tide of war turns. We stand not as victims of betrayal, but as victors forged in adversity." Yet, even as success mounted, Ramirez remained vigilant. Intelligence reports warned of Lysari attempts to regroup and launch devastating counterattacks. "Complacency is our enemy," she reminded her crew. "We fight smarter, harder, and together." Within the coalition, bonds deepened. Shared hardships and victories forged friendships across species lines. In mess halls and briefing rooms, stories were exchanged. Laughter shared a reminder that even in war, hope endured. Ambassador Jaya Patel continued diplomatic efforts, using battlefield successes to strengthen alliances and encourage neutrality to join the cause. But the Lysari, though battered, remained dangerous. Their leaders refused to concede, preparing a massive fleet rumored to include experimental weapons capable of altering the balance of power. General Hiro Tanaka studied the intelligence with concern. "This war is far from over. We must be ready for anything." The coalition prepared for the storm ahead. Training intensified, fleets expanded, and strategy sessions grew longer and more complex. Commander Ramirez stood before her crew, her voice steady and resolute. "We've turned the tide because we refuse to give up. The enemy fears what we've become, force united, relentless, and unbreakable. The next battle will decide the future of this galaxy. We will be ready." As stars twinkled cold and distant outside the viewport, the Intrepid and the coalition fleet advanced, carrying with them the hopes of countless worlds and the unyielding spirit of humanity. The turning tide was only the beginning. The vast expanse of space before the coalition fleet was silent, a cold canvas waiting for the storm. The Lysari's rumored super weapon hung like a shadow over every ship, every heart. Commander Alina Ramirez stood at the helm of the Intrepid, her mind sharp and steady despite the weight of what lay ahead. "We've come too far to lose now," she said quietly to Lieutenant Kai Voss, who was monitoring the fleet's systems. "This battle will determine everything." The coalition's plan was bold. Instead of a frontal assault, they would split into multiple strike groups, attacking simultaneously to overwhelm Lysari defenses. Coordination was key. Communication channels buzzed with final confirmations. Captain Marcus Lee's fighter squadron prepared for rapid deployment. "This is it, team," he said, his voice steady but charged with energy. "Keep sharp, trust your instincts, and watch each other's backs." As the Coalition fleet advanced into Lysari space, sensor arrays picked up a sudden flare, a massive energy surge lighting up the darkness. The superweapon, a colossal warship equipped with a weapon capable of annihilating entire fleets, had revealed itself. General Hiro Tanaka's voice came through the comms, calm but firm. "All units prepare for immediate engagement. Focus fire." On the superweapon's shield generators, the battle erupted with blinding ferocity. Plasma bolts and laser beams sliced through the void as fighters darted through hostile fire. The Intrepid and its sister ships unleashed volleys aimed at the superweapon's defenses. Despite the overwhelming power of the Lysari's warship, the Coalition's adaptive tactics and coordinated strikes began to take effect. Engineers aboard the Intrepid worked frantically, recalibrating weapon systems to exploit weak points discovered by reconnaissance. Shield generators at 30%. Lieutenant Voss reported, sweat beading on her brow. "We can break through if we push harder." Commander Ramirez ordered a concentrated assault, rallying the fleet's firepower. The superweapon's shields flickered, sparks cascading across its hull. On the ground below, Coalition forces launched simultaneous assaults on Lysari bases, cutting off reinforcements and crippling supply chains. Lieutenant Sarah Almes reled a daring raid to disable the superweapon's support systems, dodging enemy patrols with a combination of stealth and precision. Back in space, Lysari commanders unleashed their last desperate maneuvers, sending swarms of fighters to disrupt the Coalition's formations. Captain Lee's squadron engaged in brutal dogfights, the dance of survival unfolding amid bursts of light. "We're holding, but they're relentless," Lee reported. "Keep your focus." The battle raged for hours. The Coalition's unity and resolve were tested as ships were damaged and lives lost. But each sacrifice was met with renewed determination. Finally, the Intrepid's main cannons found their mark, penetrating the superweapon's core. The colossal ship shuddered violently before exploding into a cascade of debris that lit the void like a supernova. The Lysari fleet faltered, their command structure in chaos. Coalition forces pressed the advantage, driving the enemy into retreat. Amid the wreckage of victory, Commander Ramirez allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. They had won a crucial battle. But the war was not yet over. "We have shown the galaxy what humanity can achieve," she told her crew. "But our fight continues for peace, for justice, and for the future we deserve." President Amina Yusuf addressed Earth and Coalition worlds, her voice carrying pride and resolve. "Today, we celebrate not just victory, but the power of unity against betrayal and adversity. Together, we will build a galaxy where trust and honor prevail." The Coalition's victory marked a turning point, a testament to resilience born from betrayal. A promise that humanity and its allies would claim the future they fought so fiercely to protect. The stars above Earth burned with a calm brilliance, their light a quiet reminder of the journey humanity had endured. Commander Elena Ramirez stood once more on the observation deck of the Intrepid, her eyes tracing familiar constellations now seen through the lens of hard-won victory. The war was over. But the true work had only just begun. Earth and its coalition. Allies had dismantled the Lysari's grip on the galaxy, reclaiming lost territories and forging a future built on trust and cooperation. The scars of betrayal remained, but so did the lessons learned and the resolve never to repeat past mistakes. In the council chamber aboard the newly established Galactic Unity Station, representatives from every allied race gathered. Ambassador Jaya Patel addressed the assembly with steady conviction. "We fought not to conquer, but to protect. To ensure no one else suffers the pain of betrayal as we did. This council marks a new era, one of collaboration, respect, and shared destiny." Across the room, human delegates and alien ambassadors exchanged nods and quiet smiles. The road ahead was complex and uncertain, but the commitment was clear. President Amina Yusuf's voice was broadcast live to billions. Today, we step into the light of a new dawn. Together, we will build a galaxy where every world is valued, every voice heard, and every future safeguarded. Back on Earth, celebrations echoed across cities and towns. Streets thrummed with music, laughter, and the joyful reunions of families once separated by war. Yet amid the joy, deep gratitude permeated the air for the sacrifices made and the hope rekindled. Commander Ramirez gathered her crew in the ship's common area. We fought battles that tested everything we believed in. We faced betrayal and came through stronger. This is more than a victory, it's a promise to ourselves and the galaxy that we will protect this peace. Lieutenant Kai Voss, ever the pragmatic engineer, added with a rare smile. And we've got the technology now to back that promise up. Captain Marcus Lee raised a glass in quiet toast. To those who stood with us, to those who fought beside. U.S. and to the future we'll build together. Outside the station's panoramic windows, stars shimmered as ships from various species departed on missions of exploration, diplomacy, and rebuilding. The galaxy was wide and full of possibilities. Yet, even in peace, vigilance remained. General Hiro Tanaka emphasized the need for a united defense force to guard against any who might seek to ignite conflict anew. Trust is earned and maintained, he said. We must never forget the lessons betrayal taught us. As night fell over Earth, Ramirez looked to the horizon, feeling the weight of responsibility mingled with quiet hope. The betrayal that once threatened to tear humanity apart had instead forged an unbreakable unity. A new dawn had arrived, not just for Earth, but for all who dared to dream of a brighter future among the stars.